These are the scars he has left on the hearts of everyone that has loved my granddaughter, my Ladybug.
As Charlotte's family had to see with their own eyes, and as her godmother described, that adorable, happy face that we all just watched on the screen for the last 15 minutes was, it was just so bruised and so swollen that she was almost unrecognizable. And the way that you would know it was her was from all the curly blonde hair poking out. And it was truly a gift that her family donated her organs so that other people could live. No one can ever begin to understand how it is humanly possible for a grown man, even if he's a boy on the inside, he is in the body of a grown man, to put his hands on a beautiful little girl who is not quite 3.5 years old.
Picture a 3-year-old girl, dressed in a Batman costume with a pink tiara on her head, laughing so infectiously that everyone around her can't help but smile. Imagine her running towards you with arms wide open, screaming with pure, unfiltered joy. Now picture that same little girl with a shattered skull, every single rib broken, her tiny body covered in cigarette burns and bruises shaped like adult fingertips, marks left by systematic, relentless beatings. Her small frame became a map of human cruelty, crying quietly in the night from unbearable pain while no one listened. Picture her mother, who should have been her fiercest protector, instead choosing a man who turned her daughter's life into a living hell. A mother who saw the bruises and burns but made excuses. A mother who would make a choice so shocking, you'll struggle to believe it. This is a story about how a mother's love can become the cruelest lie, about how a system designed to shield children failed at its most critical moment, and how a court verdict will leave you screaming in rage at the injustice. But it's also a story about true, selfless love. A woman who didn't give birth to this child but became her only real mother. A love stronger than blood, a love that never betrayed her, not even in the final heartbreaking moments. Before we delve into this painful yet vital story, I must ask for your help. Every like, every subscription, every share of this video is a chance to save another child's life. Please share this story everywhere you can and leave your city and viewing time in the comments. It's important for me to know where people are ready to stand up and protect children. Stories like this one and many others on my channel can teach us to spot danger where others see only normalcy. This isn't just a tragedy. It's a lesson that can help us save a child. Brace yourself for what's coming. It will break your heart and make you question humanity. What you learn by the end will shock you to your core. Meet Charlotte James Dawkins, a little girl who dreamed of being both a princess and a superhero, but who never lived to see her 4th birthday. She was born on December 11, 2013, in the middle of a New Jersey snowstorm, weighing 6 pounds 6 ounces of pure light, with a head full of dark hair that would soon turn into golden curls. Her parents, 18-year-old Caitlin and 19-year-old Anthony, were far too young for the immense responsibility they faced. From her very first days, Charlotte possessed a special magic. Her smile could melt the coldest heart, and her laugh rang out like silver bells. She had bright blue eyes filled with an unlimited, innocent trust in a world she believed would never hurt her. The most important person in baby Charlotte's life quickly became Kirsten, Caitlin's 17-year-old stepsister. When Kirsten first held the newborn in her arms, a bond stronger than blood was forged. One moment you're a carefree teenage girl, and the next, this tiny person captures a huge piece of your heart, Kirsten would later remember. Charlotte couldn't pronounce Aunt Kirsten, so she called her Aunt Tear, a nickname that stuck forever. By early 2014, Charlotte's parents had split up for good. Anthony vanished from her life, appearing only sporadically. Caitlin was left alone with her baby and moved in with her father, James. At Grandpa James's house, Charlotte was safe. He adored his granddaughter, whom he affectionately called Ladybug. Every weekend, Kirsten would visit, and the three of them would spend their time playing, watching cartoons, and eating at McDonald's. For 2.5 years, Charlotte thrived as a happy child. She refused to choose between princesses and superheroes, happily wearing a pink tutu with a Batman shirt, or a tiara with a Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles costume. Her favorite song was You Are My Sunshine, and it was symbolic. She truly was sunshine for everyone who knew her. She had a special, contagious laugh. When she laughed, her whole face lit up with a unique sparkle in her eyes. Her head-popping hugs became a family legend. She hugged so tightly you could feel her love radiate through your entire body. Then, in the summer of 2016, everything changed. 21-year-old Caitlin met Travis Graham, a 20-year-old man with a criminal past that included 10 previous convictions, among them a violent juvenile crime. He had a 4-year-old son from a prior relationship. Caitlin fell for him instantly. To her, Travis seemed perfect, a young father who understood the challenges of raising a child. He lived in a townhouse with his parents in a quiet suburb. Within weeks, Caitlin made a fatal decision. She packed up 2-year-old Charlotte's belongings and moved them out of the safety of her grandfather's home and into Travis's house. Grandma Renee was adamantly against the move, but her daughter ignored her warnings. A strange and volatile situation developed at Travis's house. In addition to him and his parents, his ex-girlfriend Chelsea was temporarily living there with their shared son. 2 ex-partners, their children, and a new girlfriend all under one roof. It was a ticking time bomb. Chelsea later recounted shocking details, witnessing Caitlin yell at Charlotte and squeeze her cheeks so hard that bruises formed. But what surprised Chelsea most was that Charlotte was never afraid of Travis. In fact, she was deeply attached to him. For 3-year-old Charlotte, Travis became a hero. Only he was allowed to put her to bed, paint her nails, or make her food. He sent Caitlin daily Snapchats showing them playing or watching movies together. This attachment would become the story's most tragic element. Charlotte loved the very man who would end her life. In October 2016, Chelsea got married and moved away with her son. In January 2017, Travis proposed to Caitlin, and she discovered she was pregnant. Outwardly, it looked like a perfect, happy young family expecting a new addition. But Caitlin's family began noticing disturbing changes. Charlotte increasingly appeared with unexplained bruises and injuries. A large wound on her foot looked unmistakably like a cigarette burn, but Caitlin dismissed it as being from tight shoes. In January 2017, Grandma Renee spotted a suspicious bruise and, when she tried to confront her daughter and threatened to call Child Protective Services, Caitlin made another fatal choice. She cut off all contact with her mother, forbidding her from ever seeing Charlotte again. January 18, 2017, was the last time Renee saw her granddaughter alive. Meanwhile, Travis was spiraling deeper into drug addiction, consumed by heroin and Xanax. To fund his habit, he began committing armed robberies. In February, he robbed a store with a toy gun. The man living with a 3-year-old child was a drug-addicted armed robber. On March 12, 2017, Travis and his mother drove to New York to drop off his son with his ex-wife. Charlotte was with them. What happened that day was her final desperate cry for help, one that went completely unheard. When they arrived, Charlotte, usually so full of energy and joy, was acting strangely. She still ran to the familiar man, crying, "Uncle Blaze!" But when he picked her up, she suddenly started screaming, "Hurt! Hurt!" pressing her tiny hands to her stomach. This wasn't a childish tantrum. It was a cry of genuine, excruciating physical pain, a pain that had been torturing her for a week, a pain she was too young to articulate with words. In that moment, a 3-year-old was screaming, "I hurt every day. It hurts to breathe. It hurts to live." But the adults heard only the cries of a naughty child. Travis's mother casually explained it away, saying the child had fallen out of bed. No one was alarmed that an active, mobile girl was supposedly falling and injuring herself constantly. For months, the family had grown accustomed to the excuses. She fell, she hit something, she's just clumsy. The most horrifying moment came when it was time to leave. Travis simply said, "Time to go home to Mommy." Charlotte's reaction was that of a child who knows beatings await her at home. "No, I don't want to go to Mommy. I'll stay here." These weren't tantrums. They were desperate pleas for rescue from a 3-year-old who equated home with pain. But no one understood. No one listened. In just 18 hours, Charlotte would be lying in a coma with a shattered skull. On March 13, 2017, Caitlin left for work, leaving 3-year-old Charlotte alone with Travis. What happened next? He would confess a year and a half later, when heroin and guilt finally shattered his ability to lie. Charlotte didn't want to take a nap. They were standing at the top of the stairs, and he was trying to force her into her bedroom. Like any child her age, she was being fussy. Then she pinched him. The tiny hand of a 3-year-old girl lightly pinched the 21-year-old, 160-pound man, and in response, he struck her with the back of his hand on her forehead with such force that she spun in the air and flew face first down the stairs. Charlotte lay at the bottom, unconscious, blood flowing from her mouth, having wet herself from the impact. At 12:38 p.m., Travis texted Caitlin. Char threw a hissy fit and dropped dead weight while walking up the stairs. I caught her, but she banged her head. Caitlin, not even replying from her own phone, advised, "Put her down for a nap." At 1:35 p.m., Travis texted again, "Her head is pretty bad with bruises." It wasn't until 3:26 p.m., almost 3 hours later, that he finally wrote, "Going to emergency room." For 3 agonizing hours, a 3-year-old child lay with a shattered skull while the adults around her debated what to do. When Travis finally arrived at the hospital, he was covered in Charlotte's blood. Doctors immediately recognized the severity of her injuries and had her airlifted to the region's best children's hospital. Travis didn't accompany her. Instead, he went to pick up Caitlin, and they arrived at the hospital together. Kirsten received the call and raced to the hospital, so panicked she threw her bag down at the metal detector. In the ER, she saw Travis, still wearing his blood-stained clothes. When she asked what happened, he repeated the story about the fall. But when he told it again later, Kirsten noticed the details had changed. Suspicion took root in her heart. In the ICU, doctors discovered horrors that shocked even the most seasoned medical professionals. Charlotte had suffered the most severe traumatic brain injury and had gone into cardiac arrest multiple times. But that was only the beginning. When they examined her tiny body, a truth emerged that made even veteran surgeons shudder. Every single one of her ribs was broken. The fractures were at different stages of healing, meaning she had been beaten systematically for weeks. The oldest fractures were at least a week old. This meant that for an entire week, this little girl had been walking around with every rib broken. Imagine a 3-year-old for whom every breath was torture. Her once contagious, bell-like laugh now caused her excruciating pain. The head-popping hugs she used to give were now impossible. Any touch to her chest was agony, and her mother, who lived in the same house, slept in the next room, saw her face every day and noticed nothing. She didn't hear the quiet whimpers at night or see how her sunny child had stopped running and playing. On her tiny stomach were bruises perfectly shaped like adult fingertips. Someone had squeezed her hard enough to leave marks on her tender skin. There were also perfectly round burns, cigarette butts pressed into the flesh of a 3-year-old. Her face was so beaten and swollen that she could only be identified by her golden curls. Doctors who had seen thousands of child injuries were left speechless. This was physical child abuse, to a medical certainty. When doctors told Caitlin and Travis the horrifying truth that her daughter had been systematically beaten, family members stood just outside the room and heard every word. The doctors were explicit. The child's injuries were the result of abuse, not an accident. The family held their breath. Surely Caitlin would finally hear the truth. Surely she would understand that the man she'd been protecting had been torturing her 3-year-old daughter. Surely her maternal instinct would awaken, and she would demand justice. But when Caitlin walked out of the room, she looked into the eyes of the people who loved Charlotte most and spoke words that shattered them. The doctor said her injuries are consistent with falling downstairs. In that moment, it became horrifyingly clear. Even now, as her child was dying from beatings, even as doctors openly discussed torture, the mother continued to protect the killer. She chose the man who had turned her daughter into a living corpse. On March 14, 2017, at 4:14 p.m., Charlotte was officially declared dead. Her little heart, which had loved so deeply, stopped forever. Caitlin agreed to organ donation, giving her daughter one final chance to save other children. Then she signed documents transferring all medical decisions to 20-year-old Kirsten. And at that moment, when any mother should have been glued to her dying child's bedside, when every second was precious, Caitlin did the unthinkable. She left the hospital with Travis and never returned to her daughter. While the mother was making future plans with her child's killer, a completely different story was unfolding in the hospital room, a story of true maternal love. Kirsten, only 20 years old and still almost a child herself, took on the role the biological mother abandoned. For 2 days and 2 nights, she never left Charlotte's bedside, holding her tiny hand. She was there when forensic experts meticulously measured and photographed every bruise on the little girl's mutilated body. She saw every cigarette burn, every fingerprint bruise on tender skin. With each new injury revealed, her heart broke all over again. She stroked Charlotte's little tummy, where she used to laugh when tickled, now marked by the blueprints of adult fingers. She kissed her forehead, where tender skin had been replaced by a wound from the final deadly blow. She talked to her, sang her favorite song, "You Are My Sunshine," told her how much she was loved by everyone waiting outside, and whispered over and over, "Forgive me, baby. Forgive me for not understanding. Forgive me for not taking you away from there." At 4 a.m. on March 16th, it was time for the final goodbye. Charlotte was taken for organ harvesting, her final gift to the world, her final act of saving other children. Kirsten held her hand until the gurney was wheeled through the operating room doors. The real mother saw her daughter off on her final journey. 7 months later, Caitlin gave birth to Travis's daughter. The baby was immediately taken away by social services, who understood the danger. In February 2018, the unimaginable happened. Caitlin married Travis. While her first daughter lay in a grave, beaten to death, the mother danced at her wedding with the killer. In 2019, she even created a fundraiser to support the wives of prisoners, asking for money to support herself as the wife of her child's murderer. In the summer of 2018, Travis was arrested for a series of robberies. During questioning, he broke down. "I just wanted to forget a lot of stuff," he said. When pressed on what, he mentioned Charlotte's death. Then he told the truth. There was no fall. He hit a 3-year-old girl because she pinched him. In August 2018, he was charged with murder. In June 2019, he accepted a plea deal, 20 years for Charlotte's death, plus 10 for the robberies. 20 years for the life of a 3-year-old princess superhero. On July 26, 2019, in the courtroom, they played a video montage of Charlotte, a laughing girl in a pink tutu and Batman shirt. Travis refused to watch, staring down at the table. Kirsten came to court wearing pink socks with bows in honor of Charlotte's favorite things. She faced him and said, "You robbed her of an entire life. We'll never see her first day of school, her graduation, her wedding. You're not a man. You're a coward." Grandma Renee, through tears, said, "I choose forgiveness, but justice must prevail." She added, "Some wish him peace and forgiveness, and that is their right. I, however, hope he sees her little face in his dreams and hears her giggles when he's alone, and that it causes him to lose sleep and gives him no peace." The judge noted Travis's complete lack of remorse. "I see a stone face. He doesn't regret what he did. Today, Travis sits in prison. In 2044, he can apply for early release. He'll be 48 years old and will have a chance at a new life, at everything he stole from a 3-year-old girl." Caitlin divorced him after his arrest. She eventually got her second daughter back, had a third child, and lives her life. Meanwhile, Kirsten is now raising Charlotte's little sister, showing her videos of her big sister popping out of a tent shouting, "Ta-da!" Now the little one does the same thing. Every child deserves to have their story told. My channel has over 170 stories of children who can no longer speak for themselves. Each one is a lesson that could protect living children. If you haven't subscribed yet, please do so now and turn on notifications so you don't miss a single important story. Watch other videos on the channel. Knowing these warning signs could one day make you a lifesaver. We speak for those who can no longer speak for themselves. Charlotte dreamed of becoming a superhero. In the end, she succeeded. Her organs saved other children. Her story has made thousands of people look more carefully at the bruises on children's bodies. Her memory lives on in the heart of the woman who loved her more than her own mother did. Sometimes a rainbow appears in the sky, a sign from the girl who wore a tiara with a Batman costume and believed you could be both a princess and a superhero at the same time. She was right. Kessie's story is not just one family's tragedy. It's a warning for all of us. Every year, thousands of children disappear into the bowels of a broken system. Every day, somewhere, a child cries for help, but no one hears. If Kessie were alive today, she would be 7 years old. Instead, we can only remember the little queen who never knew her kingdom. But her story saves others. Every time someone doesn't walk past suspicious bruises on a child's face, when a social worker makes an unscheduled check, when the system works as it should, Kessie wins. I just wanted to say a big thank you to everyone who watched this video all the way through. I'd love to hear your thoughts on this case in the comments, and please don't forget to subscribe to my channel. I'd also like to send a special thank you to everyone who has donated to support my channel. Your support means the world to me and gives me the motivation to keep making new and interesting investigations for you, my wonderful viewers. Thank you all so much.
And that's all I know. Is when I woke up, when I went to sleep, she was there. And then when I woke up,
The rear door of the residence was found to be open.
The search for the 5-year-old lasted for months.
In the air, helicopters from different agencies scoured the area.
Her disappearance has left this community, her family, in despair.
But the little girl was never found.
And how do you get somebody to be so evil as to not tell you where a child is?
A 5-year-old girl disappeared overnight from a locked home with no sign of forced entry. Her babysitter gave conflicting stories, and her father vowed to find her at any cost. 16 years later, Holly Cummings remains missing, and the truth is still buried in silence. This painful but vital story, I need to ask for your help. Every like, every subscription, every share of this video is a chance for another child to stay alive. Share the story everywhere you can and leave your city and viewing time in the comments. It's important for me to know where people are ready to protect children. This story will change how you think about justice, secrets hidden for 16 years, and why sometimes silence becomes the loudest admission of guilt. This is the story of a little girl who should have been a symbol of hope, but instead became a victim of circumstances. The story begins in 2001 in Florida. 23-year-old Ronald Cummings met 14-year-old Crystal Sheffield, an adult man starting a relationship with a teenage girl, the first warning sign in a chain leading to disaster. Crystal dropped out of school and moved in with Ronald. A child who needed protection ended up in the hands of a man who saw her not as a daughter but a partner. This unhealthy dynamic laid the foundation for what happened next. In 2003, 16-year-old Crystal gave birth to a daughter diagnosed with Turner syndrome, a rare genetic condition predicted to cause serious physical deformities and likely death at birth. But Holly Ann Marie Cummings defied medical predictions. Born healthier than expected and called the family's miracle child. A year and a half later, Crystal had a son, Ronald Jr. However, motherhood proved overwhelming for Crystal. And during this time, drugs entered the family's life. Both Ronald and Crystal used illegal substances. Crystal even during pregnancy, harming the children further. Despite this, Holly grew into an amazing child with restless energy and charm, lovingly called Hallibug and Granny's Love. She adored gospel music, which she called God music, and every visit to Grandma's started with a ritual, asking to listen to her God music. By 2005, the family situation became critical. Crystal missed vital medical appointments for Holly, whose Turner syndrome required regular care. Child Services intervened and removed the children, awarding full custody to Ronald, a crane operator who ensured medical checkups for Holly. At first, everything seemed stable: a loving father, stable home, and necessary medical care. But the system made a fatal mistake by ignoring Ronald's disturbing pattern of relationships with underage girls. For 3 years, Holly lived a relatively stable life, attending kindergarten and befriending Alyssa Hall. In August 2008, at the bus stop where Ronald dropped Holly off, he met 17-year-old Misty Crosslin. Misty was a troubled teen with emotional trauma and little education. Ronald saw her as a perfect victim and moved her into his home, entrusting her to babysit Holly and Ronald Jr. Misty frequently disappeared for days on drug binges, causing Ronald to rage but always take her back. Ronald's family, concerned, frequently checked in on the children due to Misty's unreliability. In February 2009, Misty disappeared again, forcing Ronald to call his grandmother to watch the children. Despite this, Misty returned with apologies. On February 9th, Ronald went to work, locked the back door, and asked his mother to check on the children. At 6 p.m., Grandma visited and found everything normal. That night, around midnight, Misty, Holly, and Ronald Jr. slept in one room on mattresses on the floor. Misty's statements about the night changed multiple times, including inconsistent bedtimes and who slept where. At 3 a.m., Misty woke needing the bathroom but took a strange route to use a guest bathroom on the opposite side of the house. She noticed the kitchen light was on and the back door wide open, propped by a cinder block from inside. Instead of calling police immediately, Misty checked the bedroom and found Ronald Jr. sleeping but Holly missing. She claimed to search the house for 27 minutes before calling Ronald at work, not police. Ronald rushed home, confirmed Holly's disappearance, and ordered Misty to call emergency services. A 911 call was made more than half an hour after the door was discovered open. Ronald's 911 call was full of raw emotion, desperate to find his daughter, while Misty responded coldly and inaccurately about Holly's appearance and clothing. Investigators found no forced entry. The door lock was intact, the cinder block was from inside the house, and the laundry undisturbed, suggesting no hurried exit. Misty's claim that Holly wore a pink Hannah Montana t-shirt was disproved when the shirt was found in the laundry. Misty gave conflicting statements and failed multiple polygraph tests, showing deception about what happened to Holly. Despite police scrutiny, Misty and Ronald married 1 month after Holly's disappearance in a private ceremony after a church refused their marriage. This marriage was widely seen as an attempt to protect Misty legally from testifying against Ronald. As the investigation progressed, Misty's stories became more elaborate and less credible, even accusing relatives without evidence. The marriage ended within 6 months amid mutual accusations and public media fights. Misty, Ronald, and relatives were later arrested in a drug operation. Misty received a 25-year prison sentence for selling prescription drugs, widely believed to be a harsh punishment aimed at forcing her to reveal the truth about Holly. In 2025, Holly would be 22 years old, but she remains missing. Misty remains imprisoned until 2031, while Ronald was released in 2022 but soon rearrested. Holly's story exposes societal inequalities. Children from poor, troubled families often go unnoticed while others receive significant media attention and resources. Holly's case quickly faded from public focus, becoming a cold case with many known facts but no truth. Misty keeps silent even at the cost of decades in prison, protecting a secret so dark it consumes her life. Perhaps the truth is hidden in Florida's swamps, or at the bottom of the St. Johns River, or maybe it lies close but unseen. Holly's story reminds us of childhood's fragility and adult cruelty, and the failures of systems meant to protect children. It shows that some secrets are so heavy, some people carry them for a lifetime. As long as those who remember Holly, her big brown eyes, her love of God music, her nickname Granny's Love, are alive, her voice will not be silenced. Her story remains unfinished and will continue until justice is served and the truth finally emerges. If you found this story important, please like, share, and subscribe to help protect more children. It's important for me to know where people are ready to protect children.